What's this? Out of nowhere, we have all these storms. All right, so we got this storm cutting up the coast here. This storm is going to be it's going to be all about temperature with this storm. If we take a look at the location of this storm, the air behind this storm is very warm, and the air out in front of this storm is not quite freezing. As I look outside right now, it's 30 degrees outside right now in Fulton County, New York. So we don't have any situation here where we have super cold temperatures. So if we're looking for precip out of this, I mean, we're going to get precip out of this storm. We're teetering on the line of even freezing, and so it's very likely that we're going to be looking at wet snow slash mixed precip and probably some rain to tail this off. I would imagine as this kind of warmer air engages up here. There's one further kind of thing to talk about with this storm, which is the positioning of the fronts. And so we have the red is the warm front and the blue is the cold front. And so just as a reminder, there's a thing we have to know here, which is that the red warm front is warm air, and warm air wants to rise, and the blue is cold, and cold air wants to sink. And so this storm is going to rise above colder air and precipitate through the colder air. So that cold air, this is oftentimes a disastrous recipe for freezing rain or rain that freezes on contact or something like that, slush and stuff. When we have this really warm air, warm precipitation falling and then engaging really, really cold air underneath. These three cold fronts will eventually force this system up vertically into the atmosphere. The low pressure will go over this warm front, and then the warm front will go over this cold front, and then these cold fronts will scoot under and push it up even more. So we're going to get a big lift out of this storm here, squeezing all the moisture out of it, but we just don't really have, it doesn't seem like we have the temperatures anywhere to render any kind of significant fluffy snow. I mean, the story of this storm is going to be wet, heavy snow, mixed precip, and potentially even some freezing kind of rain conditions as we have this wet storm falling through cold air on the bottom. So anyway, next 12 to 18 hours here of this storm's kind of engagement with us is going to be wet, heavy precip, probably some rain, and probably some freezing rain. Maybe later on into this storm. Futurecast. All right, what's coming up like later? This storm on the west coast is something to look at. Let's take a look here. Take a look at this storm on the west coast. So just really quick, draw your eyes here instead of the west coast to northern Canada. So these pressure maps, when you look at these pressure maps, the numbers stick out, the letters stick out, L's and H's. But the thing that oftentimes picks up my eye is the pressure gradient, how close the isobars are together. And if you look at the lines right here, they're super close together. And so my eyes are immediately drawn to that as this is a really strong storm. And look at that pressure number 955. You're not going to see low numbers like that anywhere on this map. That is the lowest pressure and therefore the strongest storm on this map. And these super close lines, the pressure gradient here, these lines really close together indicate that it's a really strong storm with really intense winds. And so when I see low numbers with lines close together, that tells me it's a strong storm. Not seeing that on the East Coast, not a very strong storm. Am seeing that a little bit on the West Coast, although the numbers could be lower if we wanted a stronger storm. This is not a particularly strong set of storms on the West Coast, but the lines are close together. The isobars are really close together, and so that indicates there's potential there for some development of the storm, and also there's going to be some wind and stuff associated with this one. But man, if you were right here right now, the wind would be nuts. Anyway, next 12 to 18 hours is going to be wet, heavy snow, mixed precip, maybe some freezing rain. And later in the week, it usually takes about a week, 5 days or so, for this to cut across the United States. This West Coast storm is something to keep our eyes, glued to.